Okay, wow, we're recording. Okay, well, hi guys. Thank you for dropping by. Um, First of all, I can't believe we're actually doing this. Viraj is a crazy guy and he's convinced us to do some insane things in the past. But this really has to be a first for me and Proneet. Well, because we're on camera at least. So I know some of you guys should have seen a disclaimer right before the screen. If you haven't read it properly, I insist that you go and read it very, very, very thoroughly. Some of the things that we talk about could be hilarious to some people and it could be incredibly offensive to others, even though both are based on reality. So if you happen to find yourself in the group of people that gets offended by things that they see on the internet, I insist, like I explicitly insist that you just go ahead and shut the screen, right? And for those of you that are still here, that are still watching, I'm really, really excited to share this hilarious conversation that we guys had about the realities of our childhood. So just one thing that I'd like to add is that in some places you might notice that certain non-identifiable students have been spoken about in a slightly less than positive way. We actually reached out to most of these guys over the weekend and we ran the entire episode by them and took their permission to share these stories. So with all this being said, I'm going to ask Viraj to play the episode now. Grab your popcorn and I really hope that you have as much fun listening to this conversation as we guys did recording this episode last week.
He'll be like, my mind was telling me not to do this, but in my heart of heart, I was like, all right, I need to. This is what
विराज
he.
बेटा बैट को ऐसे पकड़ते हैं.
Uh, Hello, guys. Welcome to the Desi Trip podcast with me, Viraj, Akshay, and a friend from Hawaii, Proneet De.
Yeah, so I'm actually, my name is Proneet, but today I'm going to be Ananya Nigam for this podcast.
Is that why you got a broken clock behind you?
No, that's just to remind Ananya Nigam of what time it's been. For the last 5 years, he's been missing his time.
Today, so guys, we've spoken about this a lot at depth and we decided to make a podcast on it. So today's topic is our time growing up and studying, so our education in India. And I know we've grown up in an all-boys school.
Education, wow, that's a strong word. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but
sure,
we've got
why
loads
not?
of stories to share. So I just thought it's good to get in touch with you guys and just talk about the good times. So
Good
Purni,
times, wow. Gotta rack my
you were
brain for that
telling
one.
us about your time bunking classes for no reason at all. Do you want to
Assembly,
elaborate?
assembly. What kind of a thick
Go
fuck
for
are
it.
you?
Go for it.
Assembly.
Lead us there. Lead us.
Oh, do you think you can get away with bunking classes in LA? Like,
I
they're
mean, we
gonna come
did
after you.
like not too
Towards
much.
the
But
end.
1 or 2 periods we did. Like remember we used to go
Arey,
like
but that was later. That was later. If you did that in middle school, they would send those
okay.
scent dogs after you, bro. They would- I mean, don't. I mean, bro, no kidding. They would literally send those Alsatians after you.
Hey guys,
Anyways,
disclaimer, that's not actually true. We won't be sending
because we don't
Alsatians
know.
out
We
to
don't
these
know.
middle
We
school
don't
kids.
know.
Yeah.
To that,
Yeah.
Proneet, do you think it was okay for teachers to hit us growing up? Like we got slapped.
Yeah, yeah,
Like do you think that was okay?
dude, that is like such a questionable practice because not
Yeah.
only was it like slaps and stuff, like it was like, yeah, it was like getting whacked. Like it was insane. Like
Yeah.
I remember this one like physical education teacher. I mean, it was ironical that he was a physical education teacher, but the
Bro, I
funny
think you can't put that title of education anywhere close to that man.
but I remember he made this weird rule that like when he whacks you with a wooden ruler, I don't know why wooden rulers are even made by these sadistic manufacturing companies, but they're only used for one purpose and one purpose only.
Basically, if people haven't got it by now, we are talking about the hobo PT teacher. Like if you don't know what a hobo is, just Google it. You'll know exactly who I'm talking about.
Who used to haggle students to get him jerseys from New Zealand. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
He would
bro,
ask people for
randomly,
jobs in class. Remember
yeah,
that?
bro, randomly he
So
got this guy
who is
Viraj,
handling
like,
them, bro, right? Someone from
Yeah.
like that. He have to leverage
Okay,
them.
wait. Just so people, okay, listen. Right now, he was asking us for a favor, but people don't know about the guy we're talking. Like, people might say that, yeah, he was just asking for a favor. Why you guys being such dicks about it? I think we need to spend some time talking about what this guy actually was
yeah.
like.
So as I was saying, he used to whack people on their butts, and you couldn't make a noise because otherwise you would get whacked again, which resulted in a situation like this. So you were in constant suspense, and you had to wait like this, and then he hit you hard, and then it's basically like. Like that. Like, it was so weird, bro. Like you couldn't make a noise. Like
Also, this guy took the fattest guy in class and just whacked him for no fucking reason. Just because he was
hashtag body shaming.
basically body abuse, man. Fuck
Bro,
shaming.
body
Shaming was a
shaming,
big
like,
thing in our
there
school.
yeah, there was this one dude who was like, unfortunately he stayed back a few times. Let's just say he had a very deep foundation, and he started, unfortunately, when God knocks you over, like you get from all sides. So not only was he staying back, but his at the same time. And he was this dude, like he used to get body shamed for no reason. He used to get body shamed for just existing. I mean, how messed up is that? Like, you're just minding your own business. Teacher comes into class, the teacher's like, oh, you stayed back again. Oh shit, and you're growing old also. What do I call you? Dadu? Do I call you Dadu now?
Oh
And it's like,
yeah. On the first day of class, when all of us were sitting and we were just eagerly waiting to see who our class teacher was because they usually come in the first period. So yeah,
that's
I
the
just
big
remember we
reveal.
was
Yeah, that was the big reveal.
yeah, that was
With
the
the
big reveal. So we were sitting in class, okay, and our class teacher came. He was this Anglo dude.
Yeah.
Looked like a white man. He used to teach us English.
yeah.
So, anyways, he started
I'm
talking,
just
and
shocked he survived this long in Cal 40 degrees heat. I always felt like he was gonna burst a vein. His fucking body was so
okay.
red.
Anyways, so we were basically sitting in class, and then in the second period, the headmaster of the middle section, of the middle school section, he comes around with people who are flunked, right? And he's distributing them to various classes. So he brought this particular dude, which you had brought up a while ago. And I remember he said that, okay, Mr. He's in your class. And okay, the entire class is sitting quietly because this is our first period with the guy. We're just
Yeah.
kids. And the teacher starts screaming. He's like, I'll take all of them. So he's referring to a bunch of 5, 6 people behind the guy. Like, I'll
Yeah.
take all of them, but don't give me this guy. And he's pointing to the dude. He's like, I
Jesus.
can't handle this guy. This guy keeps arguing. He keeps arguing. I can't have him in my class. I'll take anyone but him. Okay.
Yeah.
And the headmaster's not saying anything, and we're just watching puzzled. So this is the first impression that we're getting about this dude. Like, can you imagine what
Okay.
the rest of his year's gonna be like? Anyway, this dude is arguing. He's saying that, sir, he keeps arguing all the time. I can't have him in my class. And at this point, the dude in question, he starts arguing, saying that, sir, but I don't argue. And he's like, look at him, he's already arguing. That was fucking trippy as hell.
Serious though, like now when I like in retrospection, like one of the things that always like makes me ponder a little more is the fact that like I think just the admin and the lack of the lack of understanding about social welfare was the lack of understanding about mental health was something that was like just insane when I look back at my time, right? Like one of the simplest and the most common examples I can think of is that any person who basically stayed back a class, meaning like they flunked a class, the way these people were treated, it's as if they had like leprosy or something. Like they were untouchables. You couldn't talk to these people. They would be like put in the last bench. If you talk to them, like you would be known as like a waster. So like that was something that I felt very strongly about, because I was friends with a lot of these people, and I honestly, from a very like serious spot in my heart, I felt that they were one of the nicest, simplest people that I met. I'm not going to take names here, but these were people that unfortunately academics might not have been their forte. But it was just like being in a traditional school, no matter how elitist it is in India, you're just kind of like you're given those set parameters, like whether that's athletics or academics or something like that. It's very compartmentalized, very pigeonholed, and if you cannot excel or fall into any of those boxes, you're just tagged as someone like who's a waster, who's going to be a waster eventually.
Yeah.
So that's something that when I look back, I feel very strongly, and like it's just sad saying that this. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about it, right?
Just
You had
going
a
off
story
that.
about
Like,
it.
yeah, what I think is a big problem with that is also, if you remember school, like you can see how every co-curricular activity was from the start considered secondary to academics. Like it
Yeah.
was always academics first, and this stuff is only on the side as like a appetizer or a side piece. Like no one could ever take that shit seriously and have some kind of
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
like think about it. Think about a few really good athletes in schools who weren't that good students. Like if you
Yeah.
think about seniors, like in a certain section, you remember there were quite a few good athletes in that section, right? But like they
Yep.
weren't good students, and like no teacher really respected them.
That's another thing I want to ponder over. So since we went to one of the top schools, I think look back and I think that only I can't even think of a handful of people who went on to become uh, professional athletes. So
For sure.
uh, our school is known to be one of the top co-curricular schools of India, right? We're supposed to be good. When I used to play at school, our cricket team was ranked sixth in India,
Yeah.
which means that you have decent cricketers, right? You have good enough cricketers who should at least play to a respectable high level. But none of us really ever took up cricket seriously enough after school, except for maybe one boy who even gave it up later. It's
Yeah.
so. You spoke about how regimented our school was, right, Proneet?
Yeah.
Do you think that is the reason behind a lot of students not taking the risk and taking the sport up seriously, or is it the lack of role models or the lack of way we've been brought up as students in that school that we never really considered to
Yeah.
take up sport as a career?
Yeah, bro. I think it's definitely the former with a mixture of a couple other things. So yeah, I mean, number one, I think one of the most important factors is that because it is a developing country, and because we, I wouldn't say, yeah, I mean, like somewhere like role models also, but since apart from cricket there isn't like a very established infrastructure for like even football or basketball or hockey or something like that, if you don't go to the absolute zenith, like you won't make a living, so to speak. That's why I think a lot of people are very apprehensive of taking that up, right? Their parents are always like, even if you're great, just like leave that and like concentrate on your studies and stuff like that. So I think that is as a function of the socio-economic situation of the country, and also the way that the whole sports infrastructure is built up, dissuades a lot of people from getting into it. And then there's the second part, right, which is like more like the psychological, cultural aspect, which is very systemic, which is the fact that, like I'll give you a simple example. When I went to college, like, I was in college with a bunch of Olympians, NCAA athletes. Like we had, I think every year, every Olympics, Berkeley has like some 60 people competing from different countries in the Olympics. So you're in a school where you might be sitting in class with like Missy Franklin or Nathan Adrian or someone, right? And like these people are not looked upon as people who got into Berkeley because of athletic quota, which is a very like strange situation in this country. Like I'm like I've heard this phrase being thrown around a lot of times when there are people at Xavier's or other colleges. It's always like, oh yeah, bro, like dude, he got in through athletic quota. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, he was
sports
spending
quota,
like
right?
20, yeah,
Sports
sports
quota.
quota. Yeah. Well, he was spending 20 hours a week, like doing sports, bro, when you were sitting inside and studying and doing God knows what. So, you have to give some kind of weightage to sports, and you cannot like you cannot slander someone because they're getting in, or criticize someone because they're getting in from a very different kind of walk of life,
Yeah,
with
that's one
societal
thing.
perspective, right? Like, no one would tell you that, bro, like, you should be proud of the fact that you're coming from a diverse background, or you got in because of your athletic prowess, and then you make something of the education, right? Like the top consulting firms or banking firms, they take these Olympians after they've done their Olympics, right? Because beyond like 28, 30, what are these people going to do? They can't just live off whatever they've earned in the Olympics or other athletics, right? They have to do something. So I think that the culture is very different. It's something to be proud of. It's something that they very much look up to, but it's something looked at very differently in here, which is like definitely very antithetical towards growing that sports culture, I guess.
Yeah, some regrets that I do have from university is not being more involved in the, football team and stuff. But then you have different time commitments and you're in different phases of your life.
Yeah.
You just make new friends and stuff. So honestly, I don't really know what the situation was with sports, but I can definitely tell you that athletes weren't celebrated in my university in India like they are abroad, like from what I've
Yeah,
heard, what my friends have told me about abroad. Like I've seen some pictures of Proneet's Snapchat or Instagram where he's gone to these, basketball games and football games, of American football games, and you see it's packed out, right? Like there's this culture that the students want to go and see their own teams compete, but that
Yeah.
stuff does not happen in India. Like when the university team is competing, even when our school teams were competing,
Yeah.
like there was no
Yeah,
attendance.
exactly.
Dude, that's
It's
something.
like
One of my
they had to incorporate punitive measures to basically ask us to go and watch the match. Like that's so sad.
that is
What
one of my regrets, dude. Like,
Honestly, with respect to that, also, I don't know why we didn't bunk more, because honestly, I don't think anyone flunked because of low attendance.
for
There was
sure.
this kid in a batch in, I think, the humanities section. You guys probably know who I'm talking about. I think he missed 150 days of school or something like that,
yeah.
and nothing happened to him. So I don't know why we didn't. But
On
yeah,
the flip
so
side,
like,
I used to
if you
sit
ask,
beside this guy.
huh,
I used to sit beside this guy in class 7 and 8. Someone who we heard recently is getting married. I'm not going to take names here, but this guy used to take extremely meticulous notes. He was a very strange character. He just disappeared off social media and stuff. His
okay,
initials are I, but he basically he used to take like this guy used to take like amazing notes, and like sometimes I used to disturb him, and he used to tell me that, bro, because of you I'm missing out on notes and shit like that. And of course, like, I didn't give a shit, but he used to take amazing notes to the point where if he missed out one line, he would ask me to fill in that one line for him. But then he ended up getting like 20s and 30s out of 100, stuff like that. So I definitely don't know if there's a very strong, and he also had 100% attendance rate, because for some reason India has this lame award for 100% attendance. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if this is
Oh,
ever
dude,
going to
I
go.
remember that award now. Yeah, there used to be an attendance award, right?
Yeah, yeah. There was another chap. I'm
You
not
have
going to
weak
name.
community, you can go.
Yeah,
Pranit
and
playing some sports in India. Pranit, do you remember in
Swimming,
okay.
international
swimming.
football when you
Okay, so
left the ball like
I'll
this?
tell you. Okay, I'll tell you guys
I have
something.
a
That
great
what happened
Tony.
was so there was this heats, right? There were heats for 100 meters or something, and then I was like, all right, like, obviously I'm not gonna win shit, but my first goal is to basically win this so I can show up for the thing on finals day, right? Like I can be part of those 10 people. Like that's why I have to get through the heats. So at
Hmm.
first I tried pulling some political clout. Okay, like I was like, all right, like, put me in like an easier group with some patties and shit. And then that didn't happen. Like I think I was in a pretty hardcore group. I think was someone who was running with me. So I was like, oh shit, like this is
But
not a good look.
that's not how it works, right? They time you and they pick the best 10 timers.
Haha, yeah, whatever. Like, bro, I knew I was not gonna do the best 10 times out of all the heats that they had. Come on, like, so I ran that shit, okay, and like I was like fourth or fifth or something, and then it was very clear that I was fourth or fifth. Now after this, yeah, like all these, they had all these like not so savvy teachers, let's say, recording these heats, right? So then I went to someone, I think it was AK-40 or someone. I just went and said that, yeah. Then he was like, yeah, first two hai, second two hai, or third. Then I was like, bro, I came third. And then he was like, bhai, yes, can you hear me, right? Yeah. Then he was like, bhai, this is completely lying. Then he was just like, hut, you came third. After I saw you come, I was like, sir, I came third. He was like, chal, nikal idhar se, sala, get out. I was like, what the fuck? This is the farthest I went in terms of running. But I got into the Chanak House football team every time, pulled political
Okay.
strings.
Can I
Ball
just
coming,
mention?
I was basically goalkeeping. There was a ball coming from far up in the sky. And then the clear direction to me was, hold the ball, okay? It's gonna go outside. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let this go. The ball comes down, bounces in front of me, and then I made a complete mess of it because they told me to let it go. It bounces in front of me and it goes inside the post. And then Ad basically comes and he's like, what? You can't even keep the ball. Get the fuck out. I was like, okay, I'll go out, but can I come back in the second half? Then he was like, get the fuck out, like, don't show me your face.
So, dude,
Yeah,
I have a story, Akshay, on Pronit. Inter-house swimming used to be a big deal back in the
it was
day.
sad,
I remember
man, in the
vividly.
Scooter
After
pool.
school hours,
What balls?
we had swimming.
This is a
We're all ready.
hallucination.
No, we're all ready to go inside the pool. Now let's
I
keep
think
in
it was
mind.
the chow, bro. He had Murli's chow.
So
Murli put some stuff
let's
in the
keep in mind.
chow.
Let's keep in mind. Pronit is not the fastest swimmer around. Okay.
Yeah, we have that on record for sure.
Okay.
Let the
Pronit has turned up to swimming, inter-house swimming, with his legs waxed and his body, arms, hair, body,
No,
everything
bro,
waxed.
that was some fake story I told Royan. Like, I never turned.
I have
that shit,
seen
bro.
this. I was there. I remember
What?
very vividly.
Bro,
Everyone is just staring at Pronit's legs. It was just chicken as
Balls.
fuck. Okay. And then
Yeah.
we are like, Pronit, why? He's saying aerodynamics. If you're in the water, you will go faster because there's no air to cause friction. And and guess what happened? He ended up coming last. So they're waxing for
Bro,
nothing.
you know the story is
No,
balls.
the worst part about this story is the pool, like how unsanitary that pool probably
Oh,
was.
man, this story turned a real moribund turn real fast.
I remember this one day, like loads of students were absent in our school, and I decided, like Akshay and I decided, we'll move up a little because we used to sit right at the back. So Akshay and I was sitting and listening to the conversation the
gangster
boys sitting
section.
in front of us were
Yeah.
having. Dude,
Yeah.
it was such a weird conversation. One dude was like, मेरे अंकल का बाथरूम में जकूजी लगा, and the other dude was like, अरे ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है, मेरा चाचा का घर में बाथरूम में एसी लगा है. And these are the kind of conversations they were having, while in the other corner of the class there were two Bengali students playing chess against each other in the free time. So what I'm trying to say is that the diversity was so real.
They must have a FIDE rating of 1,000 right now. So just name the chess players, by the way. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're playing with
Dude, they're not playing with anyone.
Just going off these chess players, I remember a really hilarious story. There was a guy in our class. Obviously, I can't mention his name, but these two dudes, one of the class, they used to play chess all the time, right? So this dude told the other guy, he said, okay, you know what? When we go back home today, let's play chess online. And he's like, yeah, for sure. So then he sent him a link, okay, to some website, which turned out to be a porno website, right? So this dude, he got the link from him and he opened it, okay? And obviously, what he had to. And then so the next day he comes back and he's like, dude, what's wrong with you? You sent me that stuff. My computer's in the living room. My sister and my mom were sitting right behind me.
Yeah.
Was Pronit a big part of this website?
I mean, bro, trust him to open the goddamn chess website in front of everyone else. I mean,
he did trust people a lot.
But guys, talking
school and China,
oh my god,
tends to talk about H1, right?
Yeah, please.
Bro, H1 China. I mean, it would almost be sacrilegious to discuss this without.
So obviously, we discussed co-curriculars earlier, and Manik was a big co-curricular activity.
I mean, Nigam was like a miscreant in chief for that trip. So
I have a really good story.
Yeah.
So I can tell you all about how Pronit almost got us arrested in China.
Please go on.
Wait, what?
Yes.
What happened? Yeah.
Now,
so we went for a MUN conference to Beijing, okay? And we went and, everything was well. We won, all that kind of stuff. And then towards the end,
Dada, how you got visa for Beijing, Dada? Office of Bondo.
Okay, anyway, so everything was done, and towards the end of it, we were just traveling, okay? So I remember we were in front of the Bird's Nest Stadium, and like we were taking pictures. So these guys come around wearing costumes, okay? They might be wearing a costume of a penguin or a duck or something like that, and they'll pose with you, and you'll want to take a picture with them, and then they'll start demanding you for money, right? So that's the scam. We were taking pictures, and one of these people did the same thing with us, okay? So Brony got really pissed. And then we were walking ahead, okay, and we walked
she held my hand.
Yeah, there's a huge.
She wasn't leaving me.
But what was she wearing?
She's wearing a Mickey Mouse or something.
Yeah, but there are multiple people. Like there are many people doing this scam, right? So someone did that to us, and Pronit got pissed. Okay, so we left that area, and then we were walking. So like up ahead, we see there's another person, relatively short, wearing some kind of a costume, right? I don't know, it's a frog, a penguin, or whatever. So this guy, he just loses his shit. He goes up to the person from the back, whacks him on the head, okay? Whacks him on the head, and then he runs off to the side. And then the person is confused, and he takes off the mask, okay? Like, who hit him? Turns out it wasn't a dude, it was a lady.
That's because she had like, I think she was trying to like get at my ass or some shit like that, bro. Like she wasn't letting me go. And these guys had run away, and I was the only one who got caught in that thing. Like it was.
You got caught?
Like no. As in like she wasn't letting me. She was holding my hand and asking me for money or something, and it was getting dark. So I got a little freaked out. So I just like I whiplashed like that, and I just like I something and I ran. And then in the background I could see her like taking off the mask, and it was a Chinese lady from Wuhan.
Yeah.
Wait. And
that was how coronavirus started.
There are cops all over that place. Now, if one of them just realized what happened, we could have been arrested and knowing that country. Like we could have still been there. Who knows?
Yeah. But I also got scammed out of like some 50 yuan for like some shit watch or something like that. Which I mean, I was told not to do this.
But that watch.
I don't have that watch because the person I was strictly told not to do this. It's like pretty stupid of me, but I basically gave Flo. So she said that, yeah, I have this great like knockoff Rolex or some shit like that. So I was like, okay, I just want to see what that is because I just wanted to take some souvenir back. So then she said, okay, yeah, like just give me like 100 yuan or 50 yuan or something. I'll just get it right now. So then I gave her the 50 yuan. She said, yeah, it's just in a small godam over there. Like I'll just go and get it. Like it's right here. So I was like, okay. She was like, just stand here. I'll come and give it to you. Yeah, I mean, she never came back after that. And I saw the sunset behind the Forbidden Temple and went home.
You actually gave her the money without seeing. Dude, you were 17, not 12. Why were you giving her the money without seeing what's...
It was pretty stupid of me. I just gave her the...
Now, why pranks on your friends, right? Let's be honest, when you go on school trip, your friends.
Oh man, I think we took that to a whole new...
Because really, when you're growing up in school, a lot of your time is spent in school, so you are under a controlled environment, right? Or if you're going for a sleepover,
yeah, controlled would be an understatement. Yeah.
So you're unleashed when you're in the school trip.
Okay, let me give you a simple example. Once I took the permission of the teacher and I was going to the washroom. This middle school in charge, who I'm not gonna name just because if you don't get the name, you're like an imbecile. But so he comes to me, he asks me why you outside in the hallway, and I was like, well, because like my uterus is gonna burst if I don't pee right now. Like literally, that was my situation. I would have peed on him, like whatever. My bladder is gonna burst. So then he was like,
no, good one.
Anyways, he was like, get the back. So I was like, I literally took the teacher's permission. Like, I have to go right now. He was like, I'm telling you, go back right now. I was like, okay. Before I could retreat, this dude slapped me so hard. Like, I was trying to protect my face with my hands. My Titan watch came up. Like, that's how
Titan watch, bro.
Yeah, my watch, fucking the strap came up. Like, I don't know how many people he had slapped in his life. I'd probably say a few thousand. But I mean, that was basically the situation. That's what kind of a leash we were under, like in certain situations.
So then, when this leash was broken, when you went on a school trip, what pranks do you remember off the top of your head that you first did?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I won't go into details, and Akshay can go into details. But like, simply, I just want to say one disclaimer. Like, this is so funny. Like these days, when I hear like some students when they go on these school trips, they get into like like weed and like doing like all kinds of like like pretty like R-rated nonsense, right? And it's like, okay, I get it. Like things have become more and more R-rated these days, and people like kids are getting access to a lot of contraband stuff even before like high school. I get that, but it's like so strange. It feels like almost a different time because like we did a lot of shit, but all of it was like pretty innocuous stuff. Like we wouldn't go and harass someone or like like substance abuse or like do alcohol or stuff like that, because like at the end of the day, I don't want to say it's because you're representing the school, because of course like that's sacrosanct and that's there, but it's also like you're 15, 16, and you should just understand like that's probably not the age to be doing this BS. Like me, but I mean, personally, what I would do is any school activity that I went for, I think, I don't know, it was like my parental, just my parental conditioning or just the scholastic conditioning. But I always went in with like a very, very clear cut attitude to win. Like I never went in, like, of course I wanted to have fun, whatever, like, but I really would be sad if I never ended up with like a medal or something or like some kind of award. Because I always went in with the attitude to basically win that competition. So it was never about participation for me. As now I understand that like, it's important to participate and stuff like that. But when I went into any competition, any academics, whatever, I still get very disappointed if I perform very badly.
So we should also talk about, like, we'll still talk about this, but eventually we should talk about how, like, I personally feel we're a lucky generation that we grew up in an age where we had these dial-up modems and we didn't have a
like
phone.
That transition was happening, right? So we understood the good from the bad. We learned to discern. Whereas just growing up in a phase where this is so commonplace. Like I don't know. I mean, I see kids drawing and stuff these days, man, like doing crafts and stuff like that, or like cycling outside and stuff. It's always like screen time for them, and like I feel like parents are getting busier, like families are getting nucleated, so it's just screen time. Like kids who are
that is still subjective. Look, okay, see, like generations will change, right? Like people will adapt. Like before we could say, look, people used to sit and read all the time. Sure, maybe like people using Kindle or something else. Today is a new different kind.
No, sure, yeah. I'm saying screen time as in like just
for a fact. Exactly. But one thing we can say for a fact is, I remember when we were in junior school, okay, when we had selections for house football, inter-house cricket, all these different activities. Man, there used to be so many kids lined up. It was impossible to give
Yeah.
everyone playing time. Okay,
Yeah.
and towards the end of it, when we graduated, like we weren't being able to fill up teams.
Village, we started looking lower, that they just felt that sports is not something you want to be in.
Got more powerful, man. Like it's sometimes when you use this shit, you don't have a choice. Like you just want to lift up your device. I mean, when you have something as addictive as FIFA, like you just want to play it. Like
Yeah, it's the dopamine, short-term dopamine
yeah,
hit. It's
I mean,
crazy. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, they're setting targets. I feel sometimes.
I mean,
But
bro,
look, I don't
one
want to sound like
simple
we're
vivid
shitting on
memory.
our
Sorry,
juniors.
yeah.
Akshay is saying, Akshay, go on.
Yeah, go for
So
it.
I mean, yeah, like see, when you're a kid, you're growing up. Like even today, as adults, we can't control our usage of Facebook and Instagram, right? It's not because we are shit people or we don't have any self-discipline. Like it's because there are teams of people sitting in companies like Facebook, Xbox, Microsoft, who have like 20, 30, maybe 100 people who are just working every day to make you pick up your phone, right? They know how
Yeah,
your brain
correct.
works. They know how your reward systems work. So they're trying to manipulate you. So these kids, obviously, they don't have any controls. They have so many distractions. Like, why would you want to go downstairs and play football in the crummy heat in Cal instead of sitting in your nice ass room and playing FIFA? So,
Yeah.
Kids that want to go out and play sports, but most
Yeah.
of them are just sat inside class using it as kind of a free period, just to chill out,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
which I don't
I mean,
understand really.
bro, like there are definitely some people when they go outside, like it's so strange. Like, okay, I'm sure like we didn't do enough to include them in our football teams during those periods, but they just, it's so funny, like they just used to walk beside the field. They used to just gather in these clumps, like 4 or 5 people, and they just used to talk like BS, and they never like participated, didn't want to play. I mean, I'm sure we could have done more to like coax them into playing, but it was so
I
strange.
don't
But
think
most
we
of us
gave a
played.
shit, bro. If anyone put us onto the field and gave us a ball, we were like
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah, we were running behind the ball. I remember there was no formation or anything when we
Nothing, nothing,
were.
bro. Yeah,
Everyone
it's
was just
just two teams, 20 people each team. Just go hard, just go hard, like just go hard. Like
Yeah.
you could be one team, you could score an own goal, but you could still take the credit. It's fine.
so
It's fine.
because this
About
topic.
basically the stereotypical views that we have on the three streams in
Yeah.
India, right?
Yeah.
And like how we somehow consider
Yeah.
that these three are the only three options in life. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing
Yeah.
beyond humanities, commerce, and
Yeah.
science. Like
Yeah.
there's no,
I mean, bro,
bro, I
like
couldn't fathom anything beyond those
yeah,
three streams
How
at
the
that time.
Do you remember how the school was structured? Where the humanities section was always on its own, where the commerce and science sections were together in
Yeah,
terms of where the classes were placed.
yeah.
And the humanities section was always ostracized, as if like they're like. And also, I remember the teachers used to hate going to teach the humanities section because
but
if
you
you
I
have to
mean, there were definitely
understand.
correlations
So there
between
was
like
some sick,
behavioral issues and the
like
humanities
there was some
section.
sick vermins in that class. But I mean, sure. I mean, yeah,
no, but the reason that's happened is because over the years you've been told, right, by the
Yeah.
yeah,
people
yeah. It's
that
yeah.
because humanities as an entire subject is quite interesting. If you think about it, it includes history, right? And
No,
history.
bro, if you take my example, like just I'm talking about my personal example, right? I sometimes rue the fact that I didn't take humanities because all I needed was my math and
Same.
econ, right? That's mostly what I did. I mean, I shifted out of engineering in college. So if I took math and econ with humanities, with like history and stuff, like I could have done exceedingly well. I could have been like a lot of variables could have changed for me. Like I was put into a class with 15 people. It was very dissuading. Like apart from 5 to 6 people, almost everyone was failing all the science courses. Like some of the people they put into science, like it beggared belief how these people even got into science. Like there was this one dude who would talk about like private jets and Rolls Royces all day, and his brother shakes my hand for 1 minute, and it's like how the fuck did these people? How did I land up with these people? But on
Okay, I think it's
a
important to point out that that dude was
yeah,
lying. Like he didn't have private jets. He just used to brag
yeah,
for
he had a
some
fucking
reason.
dilapidated Honda City. Let's just be honest. I blew his tank.
No,
Yeah.
but the point I was trying to get at, when you're young, you imbibe a lot more in your brain. You store a lot more in your brain,
Sure.
and you learn
If
quickly.
if Ronit has nothing to say right now, I think I'd like to tackle this question first.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it, man.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
this is okay. This is something I've thought about personally.
like
So you always pick out the things you should have done better or should have done differently in school. And I was thinking about this one day, and then I realized, okay, like sometimes we are harsh on ourselves, and we're like, we made these mistakes. How did I not think differently? How did I not do this?
Yeah.
And then I was like, and part of the reason why you're in school is like you're a kid. Like you don't have that, maturity that like we have right now to, make those decisions back then. Like that's the point of you being in school. There should be people who are teaching you, who are helping you make decisions. I don't remember having a single teacher who would sit me down, who would like drive some sense into my head, right? Saying that like this is your future paths, like why are you taking commerce, like do you know like this is what's your plan from here, or like why aren't you involved in this activity, like why
Yeah.
aren't you doing this. Like there was no guidance. So that's something I didn't like in school, and I don't like the fact that a lot of us sit and blame ourselves for not doing certain things in school, because I mean we couldn't help it.
Yeah.
We were kids, man. We were there for guidance. So
Noun,
yeah.
and school is defined as an institution for educating children.
Okay.
Now, do you think the school we went to in India did justice to that definition? An institution
You
for
can't.
educating children.
Uh, I mean, bro, so my take on this is slightly complicated, right? Because there's always like economics behind this. Like, you're not like, how do I explain this? Like, you in a university, right? You're paying a professor who's on the payroll, like a tenured professor. You're paying them a lot of money to devote a lot of attention, a lot of research, a lot of effort to these students and their own research. In a school, it's just the way the economics work. Like you have to understand that even at a school like, I'm not like our school, I'm not taking names, but versus a lot of other private schools which are newer ones, you guys have to agree with me, like the fees
Yeah,
is quite low. The fees is quite low. I mean, like for like the kind of students they take, they could have paid a lot more. So that automatically trickles down into like the teacher salaries and stuff like that, and that automatically trickles down into them having to take tuition and the whole like tuition culture, which for the life of me, other people cannot understand abroad like what this word tuition means. So for anyone who's watching this basically means after school coaching, which is like a very very like it's a very ubiquitous phenomenon in India. Everyone does this, right? It's
tuition is school after school, bro.
yeah,
Tuition is
yeah,
school.
like tuition school after school, exactly. Like I know. I mean, we didn't go that hardcore, but I feel like there were kids who were trying to get into IIT and stuff, and they would do not just school coaching but also IIT coaching. So their schools would end at 2. They would eat some tiffin and were like, what a tough life. Like instead of going home, eating some food, spending time with the family, like being
Okay.
creative, they would they would be busting their balls in the sweat from one tuition to another till 10 p.m. night, and then going home like in this sultry 40 degrees Celsius heat. I mean,
Akshay,
why would you subject kids to this kind of stuff?
I know Puneet's point is that
Yeah.
you're not paying the teachers enough for them to want to do a good job, right? That's what
Yeah,
you're trying
like teachers these days, bro, teachers these days are coming, right? Like my last point, teachers these days are coming, they're showing up because they don't have any choice. But we've lost that culture. I guess like, a lot of those olden Anglo teachers, they used to come and they used to love doing it, right? Like they imbibe that culture. But a lot of the new teachers, they come and they show up because, they have to, it's part of the mandate. But, if they got paid like some 20-30K more and they could like sacrifice a couple of those early evening tuitions for this, then it would make a lot more sense for them. Because,
to
at the end
plan
of
for
the
the class
For
better.
sure.
exactly, everyone
For
has to
sure.
run their families, right? So no one is going to show up and do like a debate or cricket or dramatics volunteering for free when they know that they're probably sacrificing teaching like 10 kids at that time, in this heat, and also giving up so much of their physical effort. So yeah,
No,
that's just
but
my
what's also interesting, see, look, I definitely understand that money plays an important role in this. Obviously, if these teachers are paid more, they would be interested in doing a better job, right? But on some level, you realize that your job, your current job as a teacher is to educate the next generation of Indians, that are going to be grown ups and that are going to run the society. So, I mean, even if the money is not enough, dude, you have a responsibility to do a good job. And like what puts their performance in class to how they perform outside in tuitions, the stark contrast is like look at the level of notes and how much interest they take in students.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's interesting.
sure you can make a case that you have only 10 students outside class and in class is 50. It's not possible, but man, you can still give the same level of notes. The same teachers who you were teaching us in class would do nothing, like they would barely teach. If you go and ask some student who has notes of that person in tuition, like he'll give you pages on pages of problems,
But then
examples.
counter for you
Huh?
counter for you is that just just straight up counter for you. If they gave the same notes that they're giving to these coaching folks, if they put those same notes in school, that would create no product differentiation in terms of what they're giving to the school people and the coaching, in which case they would get no kids in the coaching, right? So how are these people going to get that extra source of income is
I got that. I see,
I'm
that's a
just trying to be
business
devil's
problem.
advocate.
That's definitely a business problem. I'm saying as a duty, man, like you are not
As a duty,
here
okay,
as a
yeah,
teacher to generate leads for your other business, right?
yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, you still have a duty to the kids. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really something that's shocking to me.
Dude, imagine going to school and like teachers putting up flyers on the notice board saying, come to me for duty.
Basically, they would do that. They would basically
Basically,
tell our parents at parent-teacher meetings saying that your son flunked in this subject. Some cases the teacher would make the kid flunk. I remember English teacher. I remember an English teacher who did that.
Yeah.
Okay, a guy whose
like an
English was
illustrious
perfectly good.
housemaster. I'm not going to name this housemaster, but an illustrious housemaster. I mean, pretty much he was done with me right after he found out that I was basically going to a nemesis to basically take coaching. My relationship with him, that was absolutely rosy. Like it was very hunky-dory. But like, that's just a very simple example of how things can go awry when they sense that there is competition.
This other red,
Yeah.
But the other situation that used to take place pretty often was when after an exam, people would come out and discuss like, भाई ये तो problem पूरा उसका notes में था bro, उसका tuition में same sum दिया, खाली number change हो गया.
This illustrious English teacher, I mean, the one that thinks that the school has catered a lot to special students. So this illustrious English teacher basically was shouting at the top of his voice that these texts would be coming. We always try to predict in ICSE which text we would get, right? Like which passages we would get. And like, it was so funny because like, it was just, thank God it was 2 minutes before the test. So nothing could be done anyways from our perspective. But I went in and when I got the question paper, I checked and like literally none of those came. Like it was all like completely other shit. So I don't know if he was trying to.
But he would say it with so much confidence. Remember?
Exactly.
And
there are teachers who we will discuss. We have to discuss this in detail. Who were sadistic to a point that for their own joy would convince students they're becoming prefects and give them the hope that they would become prefects, even though in their head the teachers knew that this student is not a prefect, but they got some sadistic joy out of making a student feel let down.
I mean, Proni, I remember a good example of the day before the prefects were announced. The headmaster of a certain house came up to you and asked you whether you would be interested in handling the juniors basketball selection the next day. And he obviously probably knew whether you were going to become a prefect or not, but he still asked you that. And then you eventually didn't become a prefect. So, I mean, that is spiteful and juvenile, man, of a grown-ass man. Things like deadline day transfers. Do you remember that? Like some dude gets shifted from a house on month before, the day before.
Don't edit this. Yeah, I mean, we're not
process. So what basically happened is we have 4 different houses in our school. And every year, someone like a bunch of 5 guys, right, from class 12, they become prefects. So you've been in that particular house since you were in lower nursery or KG,
Explain what
right?
a prefect is. Well, in my understanding, it's just glorified like monitors. I don't government. Student government for the Western
it's
audience.
To be a reward for your work throughout your school, right? And you're rewarded with slavery.
That's what that's what it's supposed to made out to be, but that's not what it is at the end. Yeah, anyway.
At the end, unpaid slavery.
Yeah, but it's also a very respected position, at least amongst the students, right? The juniors look up to you. You're kind of like a mentor for the juniors.
A messiah.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know about that.
That will deliver them from evil.
Okay, anyways. So, so basically, when we were in class 12, I remember that year they decided to really put it into the ass of the system, where they transferred this one dude on the last day or I don't know, the month before, but just ridiculous stuff. Like people who joined
on the day they were announcing the
on the day.
It was an hour before.
It was
okay. Look, I also need to make it very clear. If they offered me that option, yes, I would take it. Like I wouldn't give a shit. Yeah. It's not the students' fault. It's the people
not the
who
students' fault.
Yeah, it's the guys who are in charge of the process. And you
I doubt anyone is a Swami Vivekananda who's going to go in there and say that, oh no, absolutely not. What? House transfer? What? How dare you? No way. Absolutely not.
Okay, let's finish up. Okay. even though we've gone to a school and there've been there've been quite a few disturbing things that have come out of it, there've also been a few good things. And I think we should end with a few positives that came out of our schooling in India. So, Akshay, do you want to go first? And then we can all just talk about a few positives that came out of our time.
Sir.
Usually, I'd love to go first, but I really need time for this one, so I'd let Proneet
Yeah.
tackle this
Well,
question head on.
I don't know. I just have two, I guess. Firstly, I think the platform. I think especially a school like Lamatnia like gives you a lot of platforms which you wouldn't have access to otherwise. Like public speaking or athletics or any like a lot of soft skill development which a lot of people in India seem to put by the wayside. It's like so integral if you want to make progress professionally and personally. So just that holistic that holistic all-rounded development I think is very important. So I think of course like there were things like mental health and all that wasn't like very emphasized, but there were also a lot of other good facets that were like becoming like well-rounded, understanding different facets of leadership and things like that, having those public speaking soft skills, communication, being strategic about your time management, managing academics versus all of these extracurriculars. So I think that was a very positive side that I would not have had in maybe other institutions if I'd gone to them. And I think the second thing would probably be, I think, I don't know, I think the exposure to a lot of like, we talked about this, like to a lot of diverse people, not only that, but to also a lot of like-minded people. Like I know a lot of like, in the West, especially a lot of them don't tend to be very close to their school groups. Like their school groups are not very close knit. But I'm happy that I'm still close to at least like 7-8 school kids that I can talk about. And it's nice because sometimes you have ups and downs in your professional life. You lose friends, you stop connections peter out sometimes with some people. So it's good to sometimes see that there are some constants that you've been with or you've been friends with for like 5 years, 10 years, and then it's going to continue down the line. So that's a very, very solid thing that you can hold on to, because it's a very fickle life and things are getting crazier than ever. So if you have that small group that you built up from school, I think that's something that's very, very positive that you can have in life.
I wish you were this sweet in school.
Wish you were this sweet in real life, bro. Boy, wish you were this sweet in real life.
Yeah,
certain people may not like you. Sir, he indicated I fornicated with my mother, sir. He indicated I had intercourse with my mother.
Yeah, well, those were the people that I just said. They were in the exception column. Yeah, we'll have a whole episode about that. It'll be called Outliers. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, so the best parts for me, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as Proneet, but yeah, like what's interesting is it's not related to school per se. It has to do more with the student body. So I think the best part of school for me was just interacting with a whole different bunch of people, and also looking at your seniors and classmates who were doing exceptionally well. And I think that's something that was great about our school is we had a lot of talented people, and which I mean, I guess on some level, I'm just lucky to have been in the school I was in, because I'm pretty sure it's not like that across all schools. Even though, yeah, everyone is talented in some way, just our school had a shit ton of talented people. And there were definitely people you could look up to and, aspire to be. So things that were important to me was when you look at your seniors, they're going abroad, they're doing different things, which is not usually the case in every single school, right? So you take these ideas from them and then you see what's working from them and then you start growing on your own. So yeah, I think the student body was a huge benefit for me in my life. And just seeing a lot of students coming from different successful backgrounds, you kind of want to emulate it yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was hugely important for me.
Yeah. So for me personally, it was quite similar to him, to Akshay, that I really appreciated that I had seniors who I could talk to no matter what. So for example, like I know, like if for example, when I was applying to university, I texted a bunch of seniors, and like sometimes you think that, oh, he's someone senior, and sometimes it's portrayed like, oh, they're untouchables, they're older than you, you can't speak to them. We didn't have that, luckily. So there were some of the positives that they were always willing to help, right? Our student, there was this sense of unity that no, we come from the same school. I need to help him whenever I can. And even now, I think I remember. Did I tell you this when I went for my brother's university graduation? I bumped into a couple seniors from our school at just one of the restaurants in town in New York. And even though we weren't really friends in school, we were just acquaintances. We'd seen each other in passing. they came, they said hello to my family. Like, that feeling of unity was that, we come from the same background. And
That's really nice.
yeah, they came, they said hello to my family, they asked me how I'm doing and all that stuff. And those things are kind of the positives I take from this, the network we've kind of built with a vast variety of people, no matter what. And like, if there is a day and time we need help, I know that without hesitation, we can call any of these people because of the background we share with each other and the times we've had in the past, that we don't need to think twice before asking them or like speaking to them for advice or whatever.
Yeah, I think this is something I've noticed too. Whenever you speak to any senior or even a junior outside school, like you realize that we're just more chill, right? Like in school, you might not be talking to them, but everyone's pretty cordial and helpful. So that's something pretty
Yeah,
nice.
the network is built at quite an early age, right?
Yeah. And I think it's a good thing that our network was so big, man. Like right now, when you go to university over here, abroad, or just anywhere in
always
general, you have a very close-knit bunch of friends, right? I think school was the only time where you actively knew
Everyone.
60,
so many
70
different
people.
people. Yeah.
Like you knew everyone. You knew all their names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey guys, so that's it from the very first episode of the Desi Trip podcast. We really hope you liked this episode. Please let us know what you think in the comments and if there are any topics you'd like us to cover. If you enjoyed this episode, please spread the word, tell your friends about us, and please hit the subscribe button and do like the video. Thank you.